Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you to the Crimson Tide Sports Network and welcome in to Crimson Drive, presented to you by Regions Bank. Make sure you get your University of Alabama National Champions Visa check card or checks from Regions Bank, the official bank of the SEC. Just go online to regions.com/GoBama to pick up yours today. Regions Bank is, again, the official bank of the SEC. Well, we're glad you're with us on this Thursday afternoon as we come on live on our Crimson Tide Sports Network Facebook page, all of our social media accounts at 2 o'clock Central on Thursdays to give you the absolute latest on Crimson Tide athletics. Jam-packed show for you coming up today as we're talking a lot of basketball, talking a lot of softball because the season starts tomorrow for Patrick Murphy's team. But let's take a look at what's coming up today on Crimson Drive. Again, first we'll dive into some of the headlines with University of Alabama athletics. Then we'll have my one-on-one conversation with the head coach of the Crimson Tide women's basketball team, Chrissy Curry. Then Tom Canterbury and Gray Robertson do a great job calling softball for us across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. They will preview the upcoming Alabama softball season. They taped this just before they made the road trip down to Austin, Texas for what's going to be a very busy weekend for Crimson Tide softball. So we look forward to hearing from Tom and Gray in a little bit. Also, a big win for the Crimson Tide men's basketball team on Tuesday at South Carolina, and we'll hear the post-game press conference from Nate Oates as well as John Petty Jr. after his 20-point performance against the Gamecocks. Then gymnastics is back in gear on Friday night, and head coach Dana Duckworth, along with two of her gymnasts, will be previewing the upcoming match between Alabama and Georgia in Athens, and then we'll give you a look at the weekend schedule coming up for Crimson Tide athletics. As we get into the headlines, we started with Alabama men's basketball. As I mentioned on Tuesday, a hard-earned three-point victory on the road at South Carolina, 81-78. Really a wonderful job by Coach Oates and the Crimson Tide managing that late-game situation, bouncing right back after the loss against Missouri, coming back strong with a win on the road at South Carolina. John Petty certainly got it going for the Crimson Tide, 20 points. He knocked down three three-pointers, also tip of the cap to Joshua Primo. He knocked down three three-pointers as well. Now the Crimson Tide, still 11th ranked in the country, could be back in the top 10 next week, depending on how everything goes. First of all, this upcoming Saturday against Georgia, 2:30 p.m. tip-off, as Alabama looks to continue to grow its lead in the SEC. The Crimson Tide 11-1 in the conference, 16-5 overall. Alabama women's basketball did not play on Sunday, but the Crimson Tide will be home tonight against the Ole Miss Rebels at 6 p.m. at Coleman Coliseum. If you're coming to the ball game, make sure you wear pink because it is the Power of Pink game as well as the Play for K game, and the Crimson Tide will be wearing special pink jerseys to raise awareness about breast cancer research and the fight against breast cancer. Crimson Tide 12-5, 5-5 in the SEC. Alabama has lost 3 games in a row, but that's all been to top 25 competition, and the Ole Miss Rebels come in with a bit of a deceiving record, as we'll hear from Coach Curry. They are 8-7 overall, 2-7 in the SEC, but they just defeated Kentucky, a top 15 team, last week in Oxford. So it's going to be a big matchup tonight, Alabama against Ole Miss. Crimson Tide softball team starting the season on Friday in Austin, Texas, as Alabama will be facing Colorado State, and then two outstanding teams that you expect to be at the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City later in the year, along with hopefully Alabama. But you have the Texas Longhorns and the Arizona Wildcats coming up, so some top 10 matchups when Alabama will face them coming up in Austin, Texas. We've already seen preseason All-SEC honors for Montana Fouts, along with Alexis Mack, KB Sides. Really talented roster. So many returners coming back for Patrick Murphy's team, and we are so fired up for Alabama softball. In just a little bit, we'll have Tom Canterbury and Gray Robertson preview the season. Don't forget to listen to them on 93.3 FM, our CTSN affiliate here in Tuscaloosa. Then the gymnastics team, they will be at Georgia coming up on Friday night. The meet will start at 5 p.m. Central on the SEC Network. Alabama 4-0 wins over Kentucky, Mizzou, and Auburn. Did not compete last week, but getting back in action today or tomorrow against the Georgia Lady Bulldogs and Gym Dogs. A great rivalry between Alabama and Georgia over the years, and now a new chapter will be written tomorrow night coming up at Stegman Coliseum in Athens. And later on in the show today, we will have comments from Dana Duckworth along with Makari Doggett and Emily Gaskins previewing that matchup. But today on the show on Crimson Drive, we first start with women's basketball and a one-on-one conversation with the head coach, Christy Curry, as she detailed what the team has been doing since last Thursday, the overtime thriller against Georgia, and how they're preparing for this busy weekend, first of all against Ole Miss, then also on Sunday on Valentine's Day at Auburn. But first of all, it's our conversation with Alabama head coach, Christy Curry. Coach, Roll Tide, how is everything going for your women's basketball team?
Roll Tide. We're having a great week. Back at it. We control our response, and our response has been to roll up our sleeves and keep working. I've really been proud of our team and their response this week.
Well, the last time we saw your basketball team, an overtime game against 25th ranked Georgia, tied at 69 at the end of regulation. Just what did you see out of your basketball team last Thursday?
Just a group of kids that fought. Obviously, some things we need to improve against a really good Georgia team. You can't have the number of live ball turnovers that led to easy baskets. Just a lot of little things, but to put ourselves in a position to win, I was really proud. Those hurt, those sting, those don't go away. And the only thing, like I said a while ago, is you just respond. And that's with hard work and preparation for the next one.
Double-doubles in that ball game by Araya Copeland as well as Jasmine Walker. Just what are they delivering to your team right now?
Man, consistency, and such a joy to coach and be around. Our three seniors, often, as coaches, you look up and 4 years goes by so fast. And so just enjoying the moment of how special they are is how coachable they are and how much they care and how they just compete, man. I'm just so proud of our three seniors. Obviously, Jordan had a tough day. She doesn't have very many of those. But we have to have all three show up because of our lack of production and depth off the bench. And there's a lot of responsibility on their shoulders right now. But like I tell them, pressure is a privilege, and they're embracing that right now.
You mentioned a tough night for Jordan Lewis, but I think throughout her Alabama career, you've seen her respond really well after tough ball games. Does that start in practice for her?
It does. Gosh, I'm talking Saturday. She was amazing and always is. Everybody has a bad day. It's all in your response. And that's one thing. She doesn't do it very many times back to back. It's always a response, and excited for the week. And she's had great energy, a great vocality, a great presence about her coming back from that Georgia game. And that's all you can ask for.
Crimson Tide did not play on Sunday, the second bye date of the season. And when you do have a week in between games, do you spend any time on fundamentals or some things maybe you'd work on in preseason practice, or did you go to Ole Miss preparation right away?
Kind of like our bye week before, we were able to spend a couple of extra days on preparation. And so we spent time on another day of preparation for Ole Miss beyond our 2 days. But we also worked on Alabama, and we also watched film. We also took the ownership to try and help us get better, each and every one of us as players and coaches. And I feel like we've improved the past couple of days. But again, their spirit is unbroken, unwavered, and I'm so proud of who they're trying to be every day.
We've seen the great leadership by the seniors and by your starting players, but also off the bench, you're getting a lot of key contributions right now, especially from Destiny Rice. What can you tell us about her?
Well, just to see, her embrace the process from going from a freshman to see her growth between her freshman and sophomore years, because she just invests. She spends time watching film. She spends time with individually getting better. She spends time in her shooting time. She's in the gym constantly. The ball's always bouncing with Destiny in all areas of her little walk every day, and you're starting to see some real growth. And, tomorrow night's game is a game where she should really be able to flourish. Continue to get her to the free throw line. We've got to convert. So she's continuing to work diligently on her free throws every day and spending a lot of time. I just love coaching the kid. She's a joy to coach.
Well, now you get ready to welcome in the Ole Miss Rebels to Coleman Coliseum, and this is a team that suddenly has everybody's attention across the SEC. A win last Thursday against Kentucky. What did you see, first of all, from Coach O's team in that ball game?
Well, starting SEC play, they had some COVID issues and a lot of adversity. It's a team that's fought through adversity. It's a team that's continuing to improve. It's a team that nobody wants to play. Shakira Austin was player of the week, co-player of the week in the SEC. Madison Scott was, picked more times freshman of the week than anybody, got that award this week. They're a dynamic duo at the 4-5 spot, just kind of like Jazz and Araya. So you're going to see two talented front courts match up here tomorrow night, and it's going to be interesting to see who can come out on top.
What are some keys for Alabama on Thursday night?
Well, we got to take care of the ball. I mean, they're going to try and make us uncomfortable, and we're going to have to embrace that. Same thing we've been seeing. South Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky. This league is a league that if you allow to be made uncomfortable and don't respond with an aggressive downhill mentality, you're going to be in trouble. And we turned it over. We had too many live ball turnovers. We turned it over on baseline out of bounds execution against Georgia that we can't do and be successful against Ole Miss. We rebounded the ball really well against Georgia. You're going to have to rebound the ball. Putbacks, offensive boards, they dominated Kentucky on the glass. We're going to have to rebound and take care of the ball. And I know I sound like a broken record, but to have success in the SEC, you have to limit turnovers and take care of the basketball and finish plays. And we've got to do both of those tomorrow night.
Thursday, we'll see a lot of pink inside Coleman Coliseum. Already see a lot of pink outside the building with the Power of Pink and also the Play for K game. Just what does this game mean to you as we raise awareness for breast cancer research and the fight against this deadly disease?
Well, it's a special time. It's an initiative that we can all do a really good job. We've all been affected by it. Personally, professionally, you look at Coach Yao and what she gave to women's basketball, and now that she continues to give, and we can all give back and try to do everything we can to help find a cure for all women. There's more than just breast cancer that we're working to fight for women, and not only women, but men as well. So as we continue to raise awareness, we're proud to wear pink. We've got some new pink unis. It's going to be awesome. We're excited to break those out tomorrow night. We appreciate Ole Miss and them embracing this initiative with us, and we're just honored to be able to play in a pink game.
Certainly looking forward to it. Thursday night, Alabama against Ole Miss. And before we let you go, just a quick word about what's coming up on Sunday. Everybody pays attention to Alabama against Auburn in this state. And you're able to get a win against the Tigers last time in Tuscaloosa, but it's going to take a really great effort coming up on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big week. Every week's a big week. Obviously, our only focus is Ole Miss, but when you look at an Auburn team, like an Ole Miss team, continues to get better. Records are deceiving. You can throw all that out the window. It's February, and we're going to have to get on the road and fight like heck to come out of there with a win. It's Valentine's Day. I hope we go play with a whole bunch of love for the front of our chest, because it's a matter of pride.
Absolutely. Very well said. Well, Coach, best of luck starting with Ole Miss on Thursday night at Coleman Coliseum. And thank you for spending some time with us today. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide. Have a great day.
All the best to Coach Curry and the Crimson Tide tonight against Ole Miss. And then, even though she's not looking ahead to Sunday weekend, Alabama against Auburn coming your way at 5 o'clock. Certainly should be a lot of fun down on the Plains as Alabama hopes to sweep Auburn for a second consecutive year. Well, speaking of sweeps, hopefully the Crimson Tide softball team can break out the brooms this weekend as they have a very busy weekend in Austin, Texas against Colorado State, Texas, and Arizona. On the radio, Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson call all the action for Alabama softball, and they had a chance to sit down before they made a long road trip going from Alabama to Austin, Texas. They had a chance to sit down and preview the Alabama softball season for all of you.
Thanks so much, Roger. This is Tom Canterbury alongside of my partner, Gray Robertson, and we are ready for Alabama softball. Gray, it has been over 11 months since the Crimson Tide took the field. We all know what happened in 2020, but man, are we excited for 2021.
I have been graying since the last time we were in the booth. It was basically a year ago. I mean, just so thankful that the sport is back and that the folks in the SEC can figure out a way to safely have us play a season. And it really is an honor to be back with you for what is, I guess, overall our 5th season together in the booth on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. I mean, it's going to be such a blast, and what a way to kick it off in Austin with Texas and Arizona, 2 top 10 teams in town.
Absolutely, yes. The Crimson Tide, Team 25, taking the field in Austin, Texas for the Texas Classic this weekend to open up the 2021 season. Alabama will start things off taking on Colorado State at 10:30 on Friday morning, and you can hear our coverage starting at 10:20 Friday morning as well. From Austin, we will actually be there. We have been given the go-ahead that we are allowed to travel, and thank you to everybody at CTSN for help making that happen. Everybody, even in Austin at the University of Texas, for allowing us to be in the stadium for that matchup. And you got that first matchup against Colorado State, kind of the non-marquee matchup to start things off. But Colorado State's always been is a good team out of the Mountain West, and especially on the first day of the season, they're going to be as raring to go as everybody else is.
They were 11-12 overall. This was a team that made regionals in 2019. And they've got some talent. Taylor Gilmore, the pitcher transfer from Arizona, ironically, she's got a deadly changeup. I mean, she's got really good stuff in the circle. But I do think that this is a good matchup to start off the season for Alabama. You know, Arizona and Texas are opening the season against each other. And I would much rather have a chance to start off the year against a Colorado State team that was below 500 a season ago and give this lineup a chance to figure themselves out, give maybe a Sarah Cornell or a Crystal Goodman who didn't quite have a 2020 like they would have hoped, a chance to really get some confidence early in the year and solidify the defense that's going to be mixing and matching just a little bit as they figure some new pieces in.
And Alabama does take on the host Longhorns of Texas at 3:30 on Friday afternoon, 3:20 the airtime here on the network. And before we start previewing what's going on with Texas and Arizona, I want to mention you talked about the team coming back from 2020. There's a poster behind me. It is the 2020 poster from the Alabama softball team. All these players, they're all back. Every single one of them. They're all back here. And that's one of the silver linings from the way that things ended in 2020 is that the seniors from the class of 2020 all got an extra year. So they're all back for 2021. All 7 of them came back. And as Patrick Murphy talked about, a special thank you to Coach Bill Battle for helping that to happen. And look at the depth of this team. It is a roster that has warranted Alabama being the almost the consensus number 1 preseason pick as far as the coaches go in the conference. So it's a very stacked lineup for Alabama, both at the plate and in the circle.
Well, it's going to be really fun to see if some of these players can pick up where they left off. And I'm, of course, thinking of KB Sides. I mean, hitting 483 in 2020, she was going to be a dark horse for SEC Player of the Year and certainly was having an All-American type season. She's back. Alyssa Brown is back and healthy, which is critical. She only played in 4 games in 2020, but she's ready to go out in center field.
But by the way, Alyssa Brown, who led the team in hitting with a broken hand her opening weekend.
Just FYI.
Yeah, just FYI on that.
The fastest player in the SEC. But if it's not Alyssa Brown, it's the girl over in left field, which is Alexis Mack. And, it's great that she gets another year in Tuscaloosa after all that she went through, leaving Oregon, having such a long layoff between games, and then having a great start in 2020. She was over 402 at the plate. So, I mean, those outfield pieces are great. And then you factor in healthy Claire Jenkins back probably at shortstop. But, you never really know what the defense will look like. And then you've got Bailey Hemphill back 100%, ready to go. Kaylee Tao is back, ready to go after a somewhat disappointing 2020. Maddie Morgan, an RBI machine last year. And then a great chance for growth for Abby Dorr, the catcher who came onto the scene after graduating high school early. Her first games were the second weekend of 2020 in Clearwater. I'd love to see the growth happen from last season to this season. I'm really curious what she's done in the offseason to get ready for this year. And I think that this Alabama team is top to bottom one of the 2 best rosters in the SEC and probably one of the top 5 in the entire country. There's that much talent all across the board.
You have the 2019 SEC Freshman of the Year, Montana Fouts, the player who had an opportunity, depending on how things had gone the rest of the year, to be the 2020 Freshman of the Year in Lexi Kilfoyle, and then someone who is going to be a favorite to be the 2021 SEC Freshman of the Year in Bailey Dowling for the Crimson Tide. Talk about some of these freshmen that are coming in for Alabama.
Well, Bailey Dowling can just slide right in on the infield, and I'm expecting to see her at second, maybe at short, maybe at third. We'll see. I think part of that depends on how she's adjusted. Part of it also depends on the Claire Jenkins injury, if there's any lingering effects whatsoever. But I expect her to be a starter pretty immediately. And then you've got 2 pitchers coming in, and Alex Salter and Jayla Torrance, both very highly rated by all of those recruiting websites and mechanisms that are out there. They're both excellent pitchers who've had a lot of success before college. I'm excited to see where they fit in a stacked pitching staff that has Fouts, like you said, Lexi Kilfoyle, who technically can still win SEC Freshman of the Year this year.
That's true.
And
yeah,
also
right.
The reigning still SEC Pitcher of the Year, Sarah Cornell, and Crystal Goodman, who showed that she's got some of the best stuff of anybody in the staff at times in 2019. 2019. So it'll be interesting to see where those two can fit in. And then KJ Haney, a player that can be plugged in anywhere by Coach Murphy. Kat Grill, another player I'm excited to see how Coach Murphy uses her this year. It's one of the biggest rosters Alabama's ever had. It's the biggest pitching staff Patrick Murphy and Stephanie Van Brakel-Proto have ever had. A lot of weapons that this Alabama coaching staff can move around here in 2021.
And taking a look at what else was happening here this weekend as Alabama again travels to Austin, Texas for the Texas Classic. We mentioned starting things off with Colorado State. Then at 3:30 on Friday, 3:20 the airtime here on the network, it's going to be Alabama and Texas. One of those matchups that we've been looking forward to. Alabama in 2019 faced Texas in the Super Regionals here in Tuscaloosa as Alabama won that and went on to finish third overall in the Women's College World Series in 2019. But we said it then, and I still stand by it. Texas was kind of on the come up, and they have continued to establish themselves. It's a legitimate top 10 matchup, and a marquee one here to start things off.
I mean, it's a really good team. They add an Ole Miss transfer, Molly Jacobson, a lefty pitcher. She's tough, real tough. She's why the Rebels were so good in 2019. And they've got Shaylin O'Leary, who led the nation in ERA in 2019 when that Super Regionals matchup came about. I mean, they're stacked on offense with Iakopo and Janae Jefferson, who is an automatic on-base type player. And she had an OBP over 600 in 2020. This is a Texas team that is stacked top to bottom. They've got a lot of talent, but the biggest question mark is what's emerged in the last couple of weeks, and that's the departure of Miranda Ellis. She opted out for this year. She was their best pitcher. She was, for most of the year last year, their best bat as well, and she decided that she didn't want to take part in this season, thought that the situation didn't set up to where she could play for the team this year, and so she opted out. And, you know, as good as Texas is, that's a huge loss that makes the Longhorns all the more mysterious going into an opening weekend.
And then a big back-to-back doubleheader for Alabama on Saturday. Alabama will once again take on Texas on Saturday, 6 o'clock. The scheduled first pitch will be on the air at 5:50, followed up right again by Alabama taking on Arizona, a team that Alabama has faced multiple times here recently. Alabama went out to Tucson to face the Wildcats in the regular season 2019, then faced Arizona again in the World Series in the Final Four. And then Arizona did get to come to Tuscaloosa and play a couple of games before the season was canceled in 2020. So it's a matchup. It's two perennial powers facing off. Arizona's added an Olympian in the offseason with their catcher, Mariposa, coming back. So there is going to be another big matchup for Alabama and the Wildcats of Arizona on Saturday.
I mean, 4 games in the last 2 seasons, and all of them were classics. I mean, you look at the game in Tucson, that's the coming out party for Montana Fouts. And then the World Series game, that was her virtuoso performance. I mean, an unreal effort from her to shut out the Wildcats. And then last year, the first game in Rhodes, a pitcher's duel, a low-scoring game, a 2-1 victory for Arizona, and then you had the crazy Wildcat comeback in Game 2 in Rhodes, where they were able to get a 3-run homer from Malia Martinez in the 7th to essentially win the game at that time. I mean, 4 excellent games in this series. It's tied up at 2. I wonder what Game 5 is going to look like, and I have to assume there's going to be scoring. I mean, Arizona is bringing back some of the best offensive players in the country. Alyssa Palomino-Cardoza, dynamic. Jesse Harper, I mean, is there a better power hitter in America right now? And I'm including Bailey Hemphill in that. Jesse Harper can hit any pitch out of the yard. They've got so much talent, top to bottom, 1 through 9. The Arizona pitching staff is good. I'm not sure I would label them shut down with Lopez and Denham. So I think there will be chances for Alabama to get some runs across against the Wildcats, kind of like they did last year and in 2019. But I really am fascinated by this matchup because, you know, it's a little revenge factor for Alabama. It's a big test for Arizona as well. Can they match the hype that they've got coming into 2021? I think it's a wonderful Saturday slate with Texas and Arizona as a doubleheader. I mean, my goodness.
And then Alabama will wrap up their stay in Austin with another matchup with Colorado State, 12:30 on Sunday, 12:20 the airtime here on the network. And you can catch all those games in Tuscaloosa on 93.3 FM. We'll have every game for you this season there. You can get a link to our live stream at rolltide.com as well for every ball game. And also you can download the 93.3 FM Praise app, and you can carry that around wherever you go. Every game here this weekend in Texas will also be broadcast streamed on the Longhorn Network if you can find a way to make that happen for you as well. And then next weekend, Alabama opens up play here in Tuscaloosa. 30% capacity at the Rhodes House, but I know everybody in T-Town ready to see Alabama back at home.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. It's been so long since we have all gathered at Rhodes to watch this team. Marquee matchup in there too with LSU, the team that we both think is right there with Alabama in the SEC, coming in a non-conference matchup on that Sunday. That's going to be huge, but I mean, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because opening weekend is gigantic. A big chance for Patrick Murphy's team to gain some confidence after what was a really tough opening weekend last year. A great start this year could really propel Alabama to something special here in 2021.
Absolutely. And as always, you know, if you follow softball, you know, when you have multiple games on the same day, sometimes those start times can get shifted as the day goes along. So always stay up to date with our social medias on Facebook and Twitter for Alabama softball, and they will let you know whenever there is a game time change. And if there is, we will be on the air 10 minutes before that first pitch for every game here this season. 2021 Alabama softball. We're ready to go. Gray, let's do it.
I'm ready, Tom. Let's get in the car now.
Heading to Austin, and we will see you there on Friday once again. 12:30 is the first pitch for 10:30 is the first pitch for a 10:20 airtime, Alabama, Colorado State. On Friday, that's Alabama softball preview for our opening weekend. Back to you, Roger.
Appreciate it, Tom. Appreciate it, Gray. Have a lot of fun in Austin, Texas. Those guys will be coming back to Tuscaloosa. A lot of home games coming up at Rhodes Stadium over the next few weeks, so make sure if you have the opportunity to come cheer on the Crimson Tide here in Tuscaloosa. Alabama softball getting going. The men's basketball team right in the midst of what has been a terrific season, as Alabama has been atop the SEC standings all throughout the year, and that did not change on Tuesday with a 3-point win at South Carolina. Following the ball game, it was Alabama head coach Nate Oates and then John Petty Jr. meeting with the media over Zoom.
I mean, that was a tough, hard-fought win. I mean, that's a hard-playing group. I mean, that's what Frank's known for. I mean, he's got those guys playing hard. I mean, they're 5-8, but they've had so many pauses with COVID that it's hard to gauge, exactly like record and stuff. Because, they went in and beat Florida after Florida got in the top 25. I mean, I respect Coach Martin, how hard he gets his guys to go. And I knew it was going to be a battle. It would have been nice to open it up. But it's not bad to win a close one either. I think we're 3-3 and 2 possession games. Last year we were 4-11. We put a big point of emphasis on learning how to close. I thought we did some dumb things late in the game, but we did enough to win it. And Rojas steps up, goes 4 for 4 at the line late in the game after he'd missed all 3, previous games. So I think he showed a lot of mental toughness. He played hard. I think he ended up winning the blue collar award. But, our 3 seniors, I can't say enough about those 3. I thought Alex Reese played super hard. We'd been starting him. I thought maybe he was a little better off the bench. I thought he came in as soon as Juwan got hurt and gave us everything he got the entire time. He played over 19 minutes, and I can't say enough about Reese's effort. Like, he wants to win. When they went small, we went with Rowe. He's the biggest cheerleader on the bench. Really, really proud of the way Alex Reese played tonight. You look at our offensive boards, we outscored him 19-11 on second chance points. Petty had 4, but Reese had 3 in 19 minutes. He was playing hard. So, and then Herb obviously is still not back to himself, but, he gives us enough that, he's tough. He brings the leadership to it. So those 3 guys were great. Happy with the win. It's good to get tough road wins. Wins are hard to come by in the SEC. So, however, we got to get them. I think our guys are learning how to win and doing a pretty good job with it.
Thanks, Coach. As a reminder, just use the raise hand function and we'll get a question. We'll start with Michael Casagrande.
Yeah, just wonder what the latest was on Juwan Gary.
You know what? He's got a shoulder injury that's going to get reevaluated when we get back. So disappointing for him. He's from Columbia. We're back in his home city. Shoot, his mom lives 10 minutes from here. Parents there at the game. he was primed to play big minutes and wasn't meant to be. So hopefully it's not out long because he was giving us really good minutes, but we'll see.
Let's go to Scott Griffin next.
Hey, it's another slow start to a game. I know you're pulling your hair out with that. It kind of happened at the first of the year. So I'm sure you're analyzing what you're wearing the pregame, what you're eating, all kind of stuff. And you know how it is on the road. It's different from home. Guys, maybe after pregame meal, go lay in bed. And it's just a hard thing to get started right and figure out how to start games.
Yeah, I didn't think in the past, I thought our effort was a problem. I didn't think our effort was terrible tonight. I told our guys, we'd gotten to the old boards. We just, fumbling the ball around, couldn't get it together on offense. Defensively, they scored off some turnovers, if I remember right. I told our guys, let's just keep playing hard. It'll even itself out. We're going to hit shots. They're going to, eventually start missing. But, yeah, we've got to fix that. Obviously, we do. I'll say this. They came out, got us down early, and our guys showed a ton of fight. You look at, we talked about trying to win the first 4 and last 4 that first half. We didn't win the first 4, obviously. A bad start again. But the last 4, I think we went on a 10-2 run over about a 3-minute stretch there. We were down 3. Then, we go into the half up 3. So, and they scored a little bit. But, we took a 3-point deficit and turned it into a 5-point lead before I think they had scored at the end. So I don't have the answer on the starts, but I think our effort demanded a victory. And that's what we're telling these guys. Let's make sure we are the hardest playing team, that our effort demands a victory. And we, and then everything will kind of even itself out at that point.
Next question. Let's go to Cecil Hurt next.
Coach, the 20 turnovers obviously are a little bit concerning, and it seemed a lot of them came off the dribble, trying to get to the basket. Could you sort of pinpoint what was? I'm sure South Carolina's strong, reaching in there and trying to stop it, but exactly what was going on with that?
Look, we were trying not to drive the first side of the floor when they're all loaded up. I thought some of them came off that. A couple of those late charges with Cornerly and Shaq, 100% came off those drives on the first side of the floor before the ball moved, and we had got the defense to move and adjust and loosen up a little bit. We got to quit doing that. But, yeah, some of them were just mishandles. With Herb, he ends up with 7 assists, so at least he was making plays, moving the ball. But, for him to have 4 turnovers, a lot of them were just mishandles. Until he gets back to practicing, he's going to be a little rusty, I think. It's hard to just play 2 games a week and be sharp. So, he keeps getting better and better. We got to do more live, or not even if it's not live, more full speed stuff, even when he's not going live, to get him. And then, you look at the turnovers. JP had 4. He's got to do a better job of handling the ball. He just mishandled some catches. But, those are our seniors. I thought those 2 guys played really hard. They got to take care of the ball better. Quinterly, as a point guard, can't go 1 assist to 3 turnovers. He knows it. I think he's playing better. His attitude's great. I think he's, he hit some huge shots for us tonight. He goes 3 of 5 from 3. We don't win the game without him doing that. So, we're working on it. I was trying to get these things down around 10 or 12. They went up. We've been averaging 15, 16, 17 over this 5-game stretch where we haven't played great. So still wasn't one of our better games, but I think we're playing back to where we're playing as hard as we can possibly play.
Steve Bolton.
Coach, congrats on the win. And certainly you mentioned the free throws being so key down the stretch, but I do wonder from an analytics standpoint, South Carolina down by 3 with the ball. Was there a conversation about fouling, or how do you feel about that, Coach?
Yeah, we had back in the fall, we had an NBA guy that had been in the NBA forever come through and spend 3 days with us. Got a whole end of game package, if you will, for end of game situations. Last year we were 4-11 in 1 or 2 possession games. We're 3-3, which is not where we want to be. We'd like to be 6-0 in these 1 or 2 possession games, but 3-3 is a lot better than 4-11. But one of the things that we actually went through was, when we're up 3 on defense, underneath out, short amount of time, how do we guard it? Well, we chose to play a 5-out zone on the 3-point line and not give up a 3. I mean, Charlie runs our defense. He's like, do you want to do it? I said, yeah. He asked me like 3 times. You sure? You sure? You want to give up a 2? I mean, if you give up a 2 and you can inbound the ball and make a free throw, like, you're winning the game. So, we weren't going to give up a 3. So we had kind of talked through that scenario, and I try to trust what, in the heat of the moment, you try to trust what you talked about when you've got all kinds of time to think about it back in the fall, and it came up. So I think it's good that we went through as many scenarios as we did. We didn't execute as good as we needed to offensively, some late game stuff, and we got to get better on that. And even defensively, we gave up some buckets we shouldn't have. But I thought in that case, I know Coach Martin wasn't very happy with his kids taking the 2. He knew he needed a 3. So, yeah, that was the plan. I mean, that's, you want to call it analytics or whatever, but we kind of studied that exact same scenario back in the fall.
We got 3 more questions in the queue for Coach. We'll finish with these 3, starting with Pete, and I'm hopefully saying this right, Icabelli.
Yeah, that's good. That's certainly I answered anything down here. But Nate, how pleased were you with how the guys handled these past couple of days after the loss to Missouri in coming back and playing hard, not extending the problems for another game?
Yeah, I was really happy with their effort. I didn't think our effort in the beginning of the Missouri game demanded a win, as evidenced by the score. But I thought for the last 20 minutes, and certainly the last about 13, 14 minutes of that Missouri game, we played as hard as we could possibly play. So I think we took that momentum going in from the Missouri game and used it for used it tonight. And I thought our effort was pretty dang good in the Missouri game.
Yeah, obviously we're joined now by John Petty, but we'll finish with Christina Chambers, then Tyler Martin for Coach. Just go to Christina first.
All right, this one's for Coach. Just this kind of a random question. There was an Alabama fan that had like 3 or 4 billboards post up off University Boulevard saying that you guys need to rebound better after the loss to Missouri. And my question to you is, obviously with all the success that you guys have had this season, do you like to see that type of passion from fans like that, just because there is so much surrounding your team right now?
I love it. Shoot. I mean, they're obviously into basketball. If somebody's paying to put billboards up, tell us to rebound the ball. So they're on the same page as the coaching staff. I had no idea. It's a good thing Aaron, our SID's on top of his stuff, because he showed me a picture or a tweet of the billboard or something. But shoot, I love the fact that the fans in Tuscaloosa are into basketball. They care enough to buy a billboard. JP says he didn't see it. I asked him.
I ain't seen that.
I didn't see it either, but I'll say this. I mean, JP led us in rebounds, and we out rebounded South Carolina, who's one of the best rebounding teams in the country. So there you go, JP. Aaron sent it to me now. Protect the paint, rebounding, Final Four, rebound.
That's
good.
Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, I guess it's on University Ave. Is that right, Christina?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's great. I love it. We got some basketball fans. We love the people being into basketball. So we protected the paint. They got a few more paint scores than us, but we won the second chance points. We won the rebounding tonight, so we did a pretty good job, I thought, in there.
All right, this will be the last question for Coach Oates. Tyler Martin.
Yeah, Nate, it kind of looked like Josh Primo hit like a freshman wall for the last 3 games, but he came out tonight, knocked down 3 of his first 4 3-point attempts. Just kind of how does that build on his confidence going forward?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get a shot attempt last game. That's not the way we want to play. The ball's got to move. We want all of our guys in there getting shot attempts. If you obviously it wasn't one of Herb's better games, but Primo gets 3 up. I mean, he goes 3 or 4 to start. That was huge for us. We were struggling out of the gate to get going. He hit some big threes, so he was ready to go. AJ Lawson's a Canadian kid. I guess him and AJ had worked out in the summer. He wanted that matchup. AJ obviously got going here, but I thought Primo was really amped up to go. Hit some big shots for us. Got on the glass. He was crashing hard. I think his effort's been pretty good here lately, but it's good to see him hit some shots and get the threes and start trapping again.
All right, thanks, Coach. You're good.
All right, thanks.
All right, questions for John Petty. We'll start with Tony Sukalis.
On 20-point game for the first time in about a month. Just what were you feeling, and do you feel like you can kind of build off of this moving forward?
I mean, I just had to do what I had to do. I really wasn't feeling no type of way, and I was gonna do whatever it takes for us tonight to get a win. One thing we kind of went over as a team, as the leaders, is our record in February has always been pretty bad. So as the leadership on this team, as a senior on this team, I'm not letting it go down that road this year. So whatever it takes to win, I've got to do it.
Steve Moulton, you're next.
JP, congrats on the win. What was the game as physical as it looked on television?
Oh yeah, most definitely. It was real physical, but that's what we like. People might think, our team isn't physical, our team isn't hard-nosed, but that's what we build on, that's what we harp on, and that's what we're gonna continue to get better at every game. And if every game is like that, then we love it. We love physical.
Pete, you're up next.
Hey, John, how did you guys handle things since Missouri? It looked like you guys were really determined to kind of not let that losing streak build.
We were real determined. Kind of like I said, our February record, every year always be pretty bad. And, we got a good thing, a special thing going this year. And our seniors and our leadership, like I said, we just want to make sure that we go out with a great senior year. So, we're going to push the guys. We're going to continue to do whatever it takes to do to win. So we real motivated to keep this streak going.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions. Let's start with Scott Griffin.
JP, I don't consider you a quiet guy. I don't consider you just gregarious and crazy with your personality. So has it been difficult for you to demand the ball to get shots? Because sometimes you get good shot attempts like you did tonight and you're hitting your stride, and then there's others where you're kind of quiet. I know you don't really worry about that, but and I know Nate's talked to you about that.
Yeah, I really don't really focus on really getting shots up. I just let the game come to me. I feel like that's how I just was built up on from my high school. My high school coach always taught me, like, in high school, I never ran up on the ball. Like, give me the ball, give me the ball. I never was doing that. I just like to play the game the right way. Coach always tell me, if you play hard and do your hardest on the court, the ball will find you instead of you trying to go find the ball. So, I just try to do that, do my best, go out there and play as hard as I can. And today it paid off. Shots came to me. I took some bad ones, but I guess that's how it is when you're feeling it.
All right, thank you, everybody. That's all we got time for. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
20 points for John Petty. Great effort against South Carolina, and now the Crimson Tide will be home against Georgia on Saturday. Friday Night Heights will feature Alabama at Georgia in women's gymnastics, and head coach Dana Duckworth, along with Makari Doggett and Emily Gaskins, got to meet with the media earlier in the week to preview the matchup with Georgia.
Hi guys, thanks for being here. We are coming off a week of a bye. It was quite nice to be able to give the ladies 2 days off after the Kentucky meet. And we've just really made it a work week, working on the details, looking at every place we can add depth, every place we can gain another half a tenth back. And the ladies have been extremely focused and been working really, really hard.
Emily, did the bye week come at a good time for y'all?
Yeah, I think it did. It gave us the opportunity to keep training, get some more numbers in. I think that if we had to compete, we would have been more than ready to, and it wouldn't have been an issue. But having that bye week was nice for us just to kind of give our bodies just a little bit of some healing time and just some recovery. We kind of trained just like it was a normal week, though. We had practice on Friday, practice on Sunday, off Saturday, so it would have been just like we competed.
Okay, what were some of the highlights of the first half of that season, and what are y'all kind of looking forward to going into the next half?
Yeah, I think it's just a privilege to be able to compete with COVID and not having any meets canceled on us or the other team having to cancel. So I think we've been doing a really good job with just staying, social distancing and wearing our masks, washing our hands. So I think just that is more of the success than anything. And we're just looking forward to showing what work we've been putting in coming in to the next few meets. So, yeah.
Katie, you ready to go?
Yes. Sorry, I don't know if the sound just went out or I couldn't hear, but y'all kind of all hit on this a little bit, but just how needed was this bye week at the halfway point in the regular season from both like a mental and physical health standpoint for Dana or the girls?
Wait, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. I didn't.
How needed was this bye week, both from a mental and physical health standpoint, just halfway through this regular season and these crazy COVID times?
Yeah, I think just having a bye week and like Emily said, like it wasn't a rest week, I guess. Like we put in the work and we put in the numbers, but I think just mentally knowing that we had that time to really focus on ourselves and get more consistent and more confidence in ourselves really helped and will help us in the meets coming up. So
I would just add, Katie, that, when you have a break, it gives you a moment to do some reflection. And I think, you're going every week and you're preparing for the next thing. And I know from a coaching perspective, it was great to look back at some videos, really see where we've come and kind of look at, okay, we know that there is incredible potential of where we can be. And here's the steps we've taken. And so it was very, I think, intense. And I think the word I used last week was intentional. I think we really were intentional during this bye week of focusing on how we could get better. And so the mental part, I think the ladies are doing a phenomenal job. In a typical season, we're used to having 10, 11 regular season meets, then SECs, regionals, and nationals. So like Makari mentioned, we're grateful every week we get to go. But I think we've prepared and done some intense training physically in the strength conditioning area and in how we treat our bodies to be able to be prepared even if we had to have gone.
All right, Mikey, what do you have for us?
Yeah, this is one for Dana. A couple weeks ago for Kentucky, you said that you expected to have Lexi Graber back for this Friday against Georgia. Is she still on track to be back?
Yes, sir. She is on track. She did a good job. We had to really take our time in building her back up, but she's pretty much back to 100%, and we look forward to having her in the mix on our lineups this week.
Katie?
For Coach, can you kind of assess at the halfway point of the regular season, some of the best things your team did in the first half, and then what are some of the things that are still working toward improving on in the second half of the regular season?
I think the first thing that stands out is that we've had a best event almost at every single meet. It's just been a different event each week. I think that we know we're capable of putting it all together. One of our goals has been to hit 24 for 24 routines. What we consider a hit routine is a routine with very minor errors and a stuck dismount. That would be on bars, every handstand being hit and a stuck dismount. So I feel like as we go into this back half of the season, our ladies know what they're capable of, and we are going to continue to fight on every single minute detail, but by really staying focused on only what we have to do this week, nothing else. So we are focused on going to Athens, starting on bars, getting a great away experience once again, and continuing to build that depth, that confidence, and to show what we're really made of.
Mikey, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of going off what you just said about heading over to Athens. This is gonna be your second straight road meet, not including the bye week, obviously. But does that at all change your mindset heading in? Like we were on the road, we had a week off, now we have to go back on the road. Does that change your mindset as if you, instead of being in Tuscaloosa for those meets?
Is that for the girls, Mikey, me?
For everyone.
Okay.
I'll go. No, not at all. It doesn't matter to us if we're at home or we're away or we're in the gym. It's the same process. We are going into it with the same mindset, and the fact that we get to compete is our privilege, and wherever we get to do that at, we're going to go do our job.
Dana?
Everything Emily said. I just think we're dreaming big, but we're focusing small. We recognize, that the girls have mentioned, that when we're on the road, it's no different than being at home. We're trying to create our own energy from the corral. We're trying to continue to build the best possible lineups to put us in a position to create the best possible outcomes, but we can only focus on what we can control. And so we continue to just control on the things, control the things that we can and really hone in on the details.
Best of luck to the Crimson Tide gymnastics team on the road at Georgia, again, coming up on Friday night. Speaking of what's ahead this weekend, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's weekend schedule. Well, it all begins tonight with the Ole Miss Rebels meeting the Crimson Tide in women's basketball at 6 o'clock on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Coleman Coliseum. Our radio coverage will start 5 until 6 at 5:55 p.m. across the network. And then on Sunday, going down to Auburn to face the Tigers, hoping to get a sweep of the Auburn Tigers this year. And that game is set for 5 p.m. Central with coverage available across the network. Then Friday begins the 2021 Alabama softball season. Again, very busy time for Alabama in Austin, Texas, facing Colorado State and Texas on Friday, then Texas and Arizona. We're going to learn a lot about this Alabama team early in the year on Saturday with that talented doubleheader, and then finishing off against Colorado State on Sunday. Game times are listed there, and also make sure you listen to the CTSN to Tom and Gray for all the softball games coming up this weekend. Gymnastics team back in action tomorrow night against Georgia, 5 p.m. Central. You can watch on the SEC Network as that great rivalry is resumed between Alabama and Georgia in gymnastics. Then speaking of Georgia, the men's basketball team, Alabama against Georgia, 2:30 inside Coleman Coliseum. Our radio coverage on the network with Chris Stewart, Brian Passing, Tom Stipe, and myself will hit the airwaves coming up at 1:30 p.m. We'll also have the courtside cam for you to watch on our CTSN Facebook page as well. Well, this has been Roger Hoover. Thank you so much for watching Crimson Drive, presented to you by Regions Bank. Make sure you get your new University of Alabama National Champions Visa check card and checks from Regions Bank, the official bank of the SEC. Just go to regions.com/GoBama to order yours today. We appreciate all of you for watching Crimson Drive on this Thursday afternoon. We just gave you the weekend schedule. So many chances for you to get plugged into Crimson Tide Athletics. For more information, visit RolledTide.com. But until next week, the Crimson Drive rolls on, and Roll Tide roll.